Prime TV, new media with a difference.
Enough is Enough, Soro Soke is the show dedicated to debate and discussion towards a better Niger for all of us.
One day, our Niger go good. Now so then they talk good. One day, our mumu go do. Now so we talk.
When it comes to choosing the right product for my skin, it's all about the ingredients for me. BETTA9JA skincare products are authentic, fresh, and best of all, completely organic. I love the Motherland Moisturizer. It's designed to smooth and soak in the skin without ever feeling greasy, and their Jade Roller has literally become a part of my self-care routine. Visit BETTA9JAskincare.com today and receive 20% off your first order. For beautiful skin you were born to love.
The hair feels so soft. Curl pattern has just bounced back. Look at that. Without any product in the hair at all. When you use Sherma Haven's natural hair care product line, your hair flourishes and becomes the main attraction.
Hi guys, my name is Yabo and I am the founder of Masasi B. If you're looking for unique African-inspired clothing and accessories, please check out my brand. All details are at the end of this video. Feel free to get in touch. Thank you.
The hair feels so soft. Curl pattern has just bounced back. Look at that. Without any product in the hair at all. When you use Sherma Haven's natural hair care product line, your hair flourishes and becomes the main attraction.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another show of BETTA9JA, Enough is Soro Soke, a show on Prime View Television, sponsored by BETTA9JA. I'm your host, Femi. Okay, welcome to the show dedicated to debate and discussions towards the BETTA9JA. Tonight, I have a special guest via StreamYard, none other than Evangelist and politician, Dr. Doyin Okupe. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Good evening, Femi. How are you? Nice to be here.
It's glad to have you here with us. Today, the topic for discussion is how to fix a broken Nigeria. So you can contact us on our Facebook, YouTube, X handles at Prime View Television and BETTA9JA. You can also call in and ask questions and make comments on +44 7939 895 108. I'll repeat that for you, +44 7939 895 108. The number should be scrolling at the bottom of your screens. So, Doctor, it's lovely to have you. And basically, we'll start off by learning a bit about you, your early life, your work and political experience, before delving into the main topic of how to fix a broken Nigeria. So let's start by just saying you were born in Iperu, Ogun State. That's
Correct.
my home state. That's my home state, by the way, in 1952. Incident is it's the same year as President Tinubu. He was also born in 1952. Do you have fond memories of your childhood in Iperu? What was life like?
Well, I don't know how to call it. It was just quite. It was nice. It was a very quiet town. Then it was a small town. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody, You know, we mixing around. There was safety. There was no too much trouble, and people were their brothers keepers. I remember, mainly I was staying with my grandmother. My brothers and I were staying with our grandmother, and it will shock you that in those days it didn't matter who your mother was or who your dad was. If you were a child and you were misbehaving, your neighbor, or your neighbor could actually call you to order, or even sanction you and then report it later to your mom or grandmother when she comes back. That was the kind of thing that that was under that kind of environment that we grew up. I had a very stern grandmother. She didn't go to school, but surprisingly, she insisted that I must know arithmetic, and she would take me through the times table. And it was at night, and when I miss it, she would conk my fingers with a ruler. And my neighbor in those days, late Mama Boss said, we say, my mother was the only Christian around that area. I said, Yaoni Gbagbo, why don't you leave this child alone now? It's late. Leave him alone. He's going to school tomorrow.
You sound like they would have called you Onijogmo at your age back then. Anyway, do you have fond memories of your You've obviously talked about your grandmother. She disciplined you, and obviously she loved you well. But what about things like local festivals or anything that happened to you with your mom and your parents that you can remember? Any small thing?
It was all festivities all through, different seasons. It was either they were doing masquerades or Oro festival, or that was the spice that was in those environments in those days. And for children, wow, especially at weekends, it was great fun. You could just saunter away from home as much as 2-3 kilometers away and come back in the evening. But the basic thing was that society was safe. There were no kidnappers, there were no problems, and there was no anxiety. There was not too much anxiety at all. And because also the main roads were quite clearly delineated, we never went towards the main road, so there was no danger.
Okay. So at Independence, you were about 8 years old. Do you have any recollections of Independence Day? Did they give you presents at school?
Yeah, they did. I remember they gave us some nice plastic cups, flags. Those are the two things I remember. And it was fun. We had a lot of rehearsals. We learned the national anthem.
The very famous national anthem that they brought back now.
Which is the one they've reverted to just now.
I want to take it that you can sing that national anthem. Maybe you'll give us a rendition later on.
Okay, all right. I'm not so sure.
Okay, you attended St. Jude's School, BETTA9JA, and the famous Igbobi College, Yaba, Lagos. What was life like? Because obviously you've moved from Ikperu to Lagos. What was life like in Lagos and schooling in Igbobi?
Igbobi was some of the best time of one's life. When you're in that age bracket between 11 and maybe 15, 16. It was Igbobi. I'm so glad and grateful to God that I had such an experience, and Igbobi was one of the top schools in those days. King's College, St. Gregory's College, Igbobi College, St. Fimbas, and the one in the CMS Grammar School.
Okay.
But Igbobi was, and we were really very good in sports. We were good in the academics. And it was, in Igbobi College, it was fun. We had Alpha 2 classes, we had Alpha and B classes. How they did it in those, I don't know why or how. The Alpha classes had the brilliant students. The B classes didn't have, the B classes were just, the average students. And, I remember very well, it was fun. I could come in during the prep, which is in the evening. I see a friend of mine or a colleague, reading mathematics or physics, and I say, look, what do you know about this thing? Whatever you get in exam, I'm going to double it. We used to brag like that. We used to brag about our competence, about our ability, and it was fun. There was no guile, no bad feeling. You say you cannot do it. I said, look, whatever mark you get in physics, I will beat you with 20%. You know, I used to
Okay.
be so that, you know, it
Okay.
was fun. It was fun. It
Okay.
was fun. There was a lot
Okay.
of competition, but it was healthy.
Okay. You went on to study medicine, I believe, at the University of Ibadan, the Nigeria's pioneer university. What was life like at Unibadan in those days, and why did you decide to choose medicine?
Well, you know, I decided to choose medicine. I was more or less literally forced, you know, into medicine. You know, I was in my, you know, not final year, in my 5th year or so in Igbobi College. I started, you know, I moved away from home, you know, and I started to live with my sister, my late sister, who was Dr.
Okay.
Mrs. Olugwide. I think she was the 5th female doctor in Nigeria, and her husband, Dr. Luyinka Olumide. They were both doctors, and everybody around them were mainly Dr. Bailey, you know, everybody was, you know, was more or less doctors and all that. And my sister told me, and I believed her. She said, "Look, Doyin, you want to become an important person like our dad, you know, in future, or like me or my husband." He said, "You have to be a doctor." He said, "All this, all this geography and things you say you are good at." He said, "They won't fetch you anything. Geography, literature, said, forget it. That I must be a doctor to be successful." You know, and I wasn't really very okay. I was okay with physics and chemistry, but my biology was so poor. And she would take me to her clinic. You know, they had a six-story building in those days. Lock me up in the top, you know, in the top building, and you know, and she will insist that I read, you know, the biology textbooks during holidays, but by force. So you know, naturally, I went for medicine because I believe that to be an important person in society, my sister said you have to be a doctor. So that's why I went in.
Okay. So it
Really.
wasn't
And then
some
also
light
because of
bulb.
that environment, you know, she was a doctor. I used to go with her to hospital. Her husband was a doctor. So of course I also had natural feeling, you know, like liking to care for the sick and all that.
Okay.
But principally, you know, I wanted to be somebody important in my life. And she said the only way you can be is by being a doctor.
Well, you're clearly more than a doctor, and you're more important than just being a doctor. Anyway, you are likely to be one of the earliest entrants to the NYSC set. Where did you serve, and did you enjoy your experience in the NYSC? And is the NYSC still performing the role of unifying Nigerians, in your view?
Well, I served at Plateau State. I was my primary assignment was a place called Pankshin, and you know, I mean, just coming from Lagos and being thrown into that kind of environment was too astounding and too shocking. One day, I woke up in Pankshin General Hospital from my residence, and as I stepped out, it was like I was in a plane. The clouds were down on the floor, on the ground, and I mean it literally. I was walking in the cloud.
In the hills.
Yeah, I was walking in the cloud. I didn't understand that. I just went back, you know, took my car and I drove straight back to Jos. And I told the executive secretary, I'm not going back to Pankshin. Number one, from the day I entered Pankshin until that very day, I never opened my window. It was freezing. You know, the temperature, you know, it was like Europe. So, you know, when you put all that together, I just went, you know, and I was a little bit of a spoiled person. I went and I met the man and I said, look, you know, I'm 24 years old. If you don't change me, I will go back to Lagos and I'm ready to go and come and do youth service again next year. But eventually they changed me to the General Hospital, Murtala Mohammed Hospital in Jos. But it was fun. It was very nice. It was really very nice. I enjoyed, you know, I enjoyed my youth service days. It was terrific.
Okay. Well, you practiced medicine and eventually you are co-founder of the Royal Cross Medical Center. I even read a story where you saved the life of one of your May guards who was shot in the head. I mean, what's the story around that?
Well, you know, where we were at Obalende was the center of activities, both good and bad, you know, in those days. And one of our security persons, that was a time when armed robbery was really, really very, very rampant and all that. had gotten, had gone on an errand, and there was some scuffle, some problems, and a stray bullet had hit him. But people recognized him. Mohammed was his name. People recognized him, that he was the security at the clinic. So they rushed him. Luckily, it was not. It was the bullet grazed his
scalp.
Yeah, the scalp, and we were able to, and of course that shocked him. He went to concussion and all that, but he came back quite okay and all that. This was also one of the things that was, during an interview I did many years around that time with New York Times. This was one of the things that was featured even in those days.
Mm. Okay, well, someone has asked said that they've missed you in Nigerian politics, and I want to ask you, what made you delve into politics? As a doctor, an important person, you decided to go into politics. What made you go into politics? When did you actually go into politics? And who was your godfather?
No, I've never had a godfather in my life in politics. I've never had a godfather. I cannot say whether I'm proud of it or I'm not proud of it, or whether I've benefited from it or I've suffered from it. But let me tell you how I came into politics. I was working at St. Nicholas Hospital, and it had come to the end of my term, and I had been admitted at the Royal College of Edinburgh in Ireland, and my dad was still alive. He had paid my fees for 1 year, etc. I had only a child at that time. I had sold everything I had, everything except for my car, which was a Beetle car, a red Beetle. Even that had been sold, but the owner agreed to wait, and the buyer agreed to wait until I left for Dublin. But on the last night, on my very last night, I was in the car park. The car park is where the main hospital now is. It used to be a car park. And I looked up and I saw, I just, it was a starry night. Something just went through my mind. Do I really want to go to this Dublin? If I went to Dublin in 1.5 years, I've never had problems with education. Never. I knew I would knock it off and I would get my FRCS. I wanted to be a surgeon, and I would come back. Then I pictured myself coming back. At that time, I never imagined myself living outside Lagos. I was just a Lagosian through and through. So if I came back from Dublin as a surgeon, I would go and work in Louth. I just shuddered. I felt, it was too small a platform for me to operate on. I wanted a larger clinic where I could attend to the pains and the problems of people, not a small hospital. So that night, you will not believe it, without any previous thinking or serious thoughts, that very night, I took a decision that I'd rather go on a larger platform where I can affect, the events in the country, and actually, attend to a lot more people, and help a lot more people, politically. The next morning, I used to live somewhere very, very close to St. Nicholas Hospital in those days. The next morning, I went to Tapa, Oshodi Tapa, where my cousin was living. And I asked him, his name was Shino. I said, Shino, where do they hold MPN meeting in this place? And he showed me. It was the Oshodi Tapa Oshodi's compound in Saleko. And that's how, I just joined. That's how I joined politics. I went there that next day. It was a Tuesday. I went there with my suit and tie. But when I was about to enter the venue of the meeting, a lady ran out of the meeting. She was only barely covered. She covered her breast and her body with just a tiny cloth. And here was I in complete suit and tie. I knew that I've done something wrong. So I quickly took off my suit and removed my tie, and then entered and sat at the back. I later became the vice chairman of that ward. Later became the secretary of MPN Ikoyi Etiosa. Later, that was how I entered. That was my journey. That was my journey.
Who were your political leaders there in NPN at that time? Because Lagos was a UPN state.
Yeah, it was Wahab Dosumu and Babs Akurele.
Okay. Now, you've been consistent on the conservative side of Nigerian politics, as you say, from NPN to NRC to PDP. And then finally, we found you in the Labour Party, which seems to be an anomaly. Can you explain your motivations of being the chief media person for Peter Obi's Labour Party?
Well,
it doesn't seem to balance.
What happened at that point was, Peter and I were PDP people, and Peter, Peter wanted to contest for presidency. I also wanted to contest for presidency. But when Baba Adebanjo heard about my ambition, called me to his house and told me, told me, they said, Doyin, look, this is not okay, that you're a Christian. I said, yes. I said, who do you think should, which zone in the South, if this thing is going to come to the South, which it should come to the South, which part of the South do you think is most deserving? So I said, the Southeast. He said, so why do you want to contest against them? He said, let us team together and back Southeast. So I agreed. So, that was how I decided that I would support the Southeast, because at that time, I felt and I agreed with Baba Adebanjo that the Southeast was the most eligible. I'm not eligible. Was it? It was the most equitable zone.
They've been crowded out since independence.
Yeah,
We've never had
So in all fairness, I felt that the thing should, after Buhari 8 years, no northerner should really contest if you wanted Nigeria to remain, one, and if you really had any feelings for the sentiments of the Southerners. You remember that the Southern governors went all over the place, all over the South, campaigning for both, and on a non-partisan basis, they were campaigning for a Southern candidate. So but then listen now, when we saw that the direction PDP was moving was going to be to pick Atiku, and we had no power to stop it. So we knew that, if we stayed in a PDP, the ambition of Peter Obi will be truncated. So we moved out.
So don't you think that was a self-destruct button by PDP to go for another northern candidate after 8 years of a northern candidate, when everyone knew they need to rotate to this? Wasn't that a self-destruct button?
There was no argument about that. That is the correct word. It was a self-destruct button. And as of that time of nomination, the results for the election had been heard, as you will see. As you will have seen subsequently.
Okay. I want to remind each and every one of you, you're watching BETTA9JA, Soke, with my special guest, evangelist and veteran politician, Dr. Doyin Okupe. We're talking about the topic that we're going to move on to now, is that how can we fix a broken Nigeria? Well, yesterday we celebrated our Democracy Day. You can be considered as one of our heroes of democracy, having also been detained by the notorious Abacha regime and banned from politics for your pro-democracy stance. So what is your view on the state of democracy after 25 years of uninterrupted democracy in our fourth republic now?
Thank you, Femi. Democracy in Nigeria is a developing story, and it's a work in progress. We're not going to get it, just like that. And those of us who are educated, especially you young people, you are very anxious and you want to equalize us with Europe, with Britain, with America. It's not going to work like that. Go and check their own history too. For instance, one of the greatest challenges against democracy in Nigeria today is the issue of having a successful election that is not rigged, that the loser accepts that he has lost and the winner emerges very clearly. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. But it's a gradual process. Go and check history. It is a gradual process. So, really speaking, I'm so happy that this is the longest stretch we have had in our history, in our political history. And I pray it continues. And the longer it continues, the better the polity becomes, the better we become at practicing it, the better our laws at guarding it will be. So for me, it's a great thing. I was part of NADECO. NADECO was an organization that was put together initially by 33 people. I was the youngest of those 33. The person nearest to me was about 10 years older than me. You know, it was a privilege for me. The chairman of the committee at that time was a late General Adebayo. We had people like this former deputy to Babangida, Okupe, you know, Kanu, you know, Baba Adesanya, Adebanjo,
what's his name?
Yes, and you know, the former governor of Ogun State, Chief Oshoba. You know, it was, you know, and then my late brother and friend Prince Adele. You know, the issues that happened on Third Mainland Bridge at that time, when, you know, it was impossible to pass Third Mainland Bridge, that, you know, there was...
Isn't that where they shot Ibru and Kudura?
There was, that was before then. That there was diesel poured on the road, and we made the place in... That was basically organized by, you know, by Prince Adele and myself. You know, and it was what. And
when are we going to get your books that you're going to write about all these what happened during the Nadeko days? Because many people think that the people that were in the Nadeko are not the people at the forefront of democracy. Although with Tinubu there now, people could say, yeah, well, he's part of the Nadeko.
You know, I think the chicken has come home to roost. I would never have thought that a Tinubu would become a president of Nigeria, not in my wildest dream. You know, but you see, Tinubu is a little bit different, you know, from majority of Nadeko people. And that is where I also differ from them a lot. I'll tell you something tonight. It's a pity that Dr. Fashion is dead. The Odua movement, you know, the Odua thing was formed in my house by two of us, Dr. Fashion and myself. And when I came to Abuja and I found out that there's an emerging consensus that they were going to pick a Yoruba man in order to appease the Southwest to be president, I came back to Lagos and I called Dr. Fashion, I called Wahab Dusumu, then Mrs. Akerele, you know, Mrs. Bucknor, and, you know, a few of us. And I said, this is my finding in Abuja. And that if the whole country is trying to give us presidency, we must stop this struggle. We must stop to fight. We cannot be carrying machete and guns when people say, you know, they want you to be king. You know, but, you know, some of our colleagues agreed with me, but Dr. Fashion of blessed memory said, you know, he doesn't trust the Northerners. He doesn't trust people that, you know, they may renege at the last minute. So I said, let us try it first, you know. But then, so the point I'm trying to make is that our own leaders in those days, their attitude to politics was, and that is, I'm a little bit afraid. That is the position that some of our young people are also taking. You know, activism is different from politics. An activist, you know, that's what people are saying, that those who are in Madeko did not come into government. They cannot, because they were not politicians. When it came to politics, they didn't take part. They are not, you know, they didn't know, they didn't have an idea of what to do. So, you know, there's a difference between activism and politics. You know, but, you know, some of us have the adaptive capability of playing activism. And when it comes to playing politics, we can also play the game. That is why I have been in this game up till now.
Okay. Someone has asked that, do you think that President Tinubu, who dobaled for democracy yesterday, some said he ulule, but one lule, but he says he dobaled for democracy day, will he survive and run again in 2027, or will that be time for Southeast again? What do you think?
I mean, survive. Only God knows who will survive. I can't say anything about that. You know, I mean, you all know that when Buhari came into this government, into this administration, everybody thought that Buhari will not survive. You know, but then look at him today. He's bouncing everywhere after doing 8 years. So nobody should play God. You know, I cannot play God. I don't know whether anybody will survive. I don't know whether I will survive. Only God knows who will survive. But then, I think it is the credentials of, if Tinubu does well, it will be difficult to remove him, for stop him from contesting. You see, I feel bad because we came out, I personally came out to support an Eastern candidate, and justifiably so. But then, it was on the premise of a Southern candidate replacing Buhari. So, I wanted Obi, but, God has granted the seat to somebody else, but he's still a Southerner. So the question, our desires have been granted, but the question is different.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that's what has happened. But, if I think what will determine whether Tinubu will be there in 2027 or not will be how well he does this time around.
Okay. Well, people are saying Ibn Power, on Sukun, as it were. That's what they were shouting out. So many people are lamentating. But at the end of the day, government has got to do the needful. You're conservative by nature. I would have thought you would have some measure of sympathy for this government, considering what they found on ground. Well, I want to ask you this question now, which is down to the key question. Do you consider Nigeria to be broke or a broken state? Is there a distinction between the two?
Nigeria, I dare say, and it's a personal opinion, is both broke in terms of finance and is also broken in terms of polity. That it is broke is not, there's no need for, it does not require too much discussion. What we're earning and what we're paying out as debt, clearly, defines, whether we're okay financially or not. That is, there's no need to worry too much about that.
The lending is massive.
But it is broken. Nigeria is broken politically, it is broken economically, and it is broken in terms of I don't want to use the word, in terms of ethnicity. It is broken.
Yeah, explain that to us. Tell us how you see that.
Okay. Nigeria is broken in terms of politics, because number one, the constitution which we operate is inimical to unification of the country. I'll give you some examples that people never thought about. Number one, I've always said it before, I want to repeat it here. This constitution that we're operating, a northerner with this constitution, a popular northerner supported by the entire North can become a president without a single vote from the South. And I'm telling you, and it's far, I can explain it. The constitution says that if you have a ballot, a first ballot, and nobody fulfills the conditions, you then go for a second ballot, in which case a simple majority wins. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Correct. Okay, fine. So if you have a very popular candidate in the North, all right, and is popular in all the three zones in the North, if all the three zones in the North vote for him massively, he will not fulfill the 25% in at least 2/3 of the states, but he will probably win numerically. And then what happens? He will now go to a second election with anybody from the South or any other candidate. And at that election, he only needs a simple majority. He will win and he will become president. So, the Constitution, the drafters of the Constitution, because they were not politicians and they did not understand politics, they should have inserted there that, if there is a runoff, all right, if nobody fulfills the conditions, that or that a Nigerian president can only emerge if he has scored more than 51% of total votes cast. So, the danger about that is this. The thing about that is this. In 1983, when Shagari contested the election, he scored only 35%. All right? Because there were strong candidates, just like there were strong candidates in 1923. There was Azikiwe, there was the gentleman from Borno, there was Awolowo, and there was Shagari. So so it was he only managed to make 35%. But you see, the 65% that was outside his government, they eventually pulled down the government. And that's it is, you know, it's a minority government. So the same thing is happening here now. The same thing is happening here now. Bola Tinubu has won with only 35%. And all the hostility that you are seeing and all the exaggerated hatred and all that is simply because those who lost the election are not included in the government. We are Africans. That's our problem. So, you know, we must have a constitution that says that you must have 51% to be president, minimum of 51%. What that does is that there will be alliances which will ensure that whoever emerges as president is carrying more than half of the population or the polity along with him.
Well,
that's number one.
I like that idea, and I think that's going to be like a constitutional amendment for that. Really,
it has to be done. It has to be done. That is the only way it can work. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. You know, I mean, that's why we're having a problem now. You know, it's not that Bola Tinubu is doing his utmost best to make sure that things are okay, things are hard and all that. But he would have enjoyed greater sympathy if there were more. If he had carried along in the electoral process up to half of the population.
So in effect, what you're saying is that when you got less than half of the votes, then we should have had a rerun, and then whoever got 51% would emerge.
Yeah.
Okay, then we wouldn't have the lamentations that would have been had.
That is what is done in other democracies.
Okay.
That is what is done in other democracies. So that is one. Then number two is that, you see, because of the history of the country, and you know, for instance, look at the Southeast. The Southeast is totally, completely, thrown outside the purview of governance in the country, and it will remain so. Beg your pardon?
Leadership of the governance.
Leadership. Sorry, leadership. You are very correct. Thank you very much. So now, that's a problem. Now, if Bola Tinubu completes 8 years, compulsorily the presidency must return to the north. So that also still leaves the Igbos out in the loop. So that is not an ideal situation.
That may also explain.
It does not all go well for political stability.
That may also explain the virility in their politics and the desperation of wanting the presidency now.
That is the reason. If you are not part of the leadership, and there's nothing in future that shows that you can, in a short time, you are going to be desperate. You are going to be, you are not going to be very conciliatory. And it is not your government; it is their government. Okay, so these are the things that are causing. These are the things that are causing a lot of tension and brokenness in the country. There's also brokenness in terms of class, and society. I mean, the hunger in the land is so great and so grave, that unless government does something very, very quick, it can be a dangerous thing. Do you understand? What the government has done by being bold to face the dual demon of fuel subsidy and foreign exchange inequality and all that. All right, it is bound to create problems. These problems, it will take time for them to be for these reforms for government to be able to overcome it, and for the society to benefit. You see, there are no short-term benefits in these policies. No short-term benefits. So government must stand in for the people on the short run, while we wait for the long run benefit. Government must, of necessity, as a matter of compulsion, stand in for the people. Look, this my wife just came back from the market this evening. She went since afternoon, and she called me about 6 or 7 times from the market that she's going to leave the place, and all that. I said, what, just buy whatever you can buy. She went to the market with 100,000 or something slightly more than that, and said she cannot. That a basket of tomato is 45,000, and she didn't buy it. So what are you going to cook with? She didn't buy it. She said she cannot buy it. So these are the things that it's okay. It's not okay, but I'm saying that these are necessities that we must go through, but we must have. It's not palliative. You cannot distribute tomato. You cannot. That's not it. There are certain steps that government must take. For instance, I believe that this is not just an APC thing. We need, like when there's a war in civilized countries, what do? They call in all the veterans. So for this economy, we need all the veterans. We need we need the Bismarck Rwanis of this world. We need the Mustafa Chikobi of this world. We need the we need the Segun Aganga of this world. And even some of the older ones like Inde Kakalu and all that. You must recruit them, bring them back.
What about the Okupes of this world?
No, I'm not an economist. The economy is our problem. Our number one problem is economy, and nobody, and I'm sure Wale Edu himself knows this, nobody or group of persons alone can say they have an answer. But there's safety in numbers. There's safety. If all these people, I also forget, like Tilewa Adibajo and all these people, brilliant minds. Let's bring them together, put them in a place and say, look, gentlemen, you have 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Come up with a blueprint. How do we get out of here? We will find a solution, and it will be local. I don't blame Bola Tinubu for what he has done. All the previous administrations, I was part of at least 2 of them. We knew these issues, but we dodged it. We didn't want to do it because we were afraid of this situation. If this man has now faced it and has jumped into it, he may not have the immediate answers or answer that can work immediately or as fast as we want, but then they must bring in everybody. We don't need IMF. I'm not talking about IMF. These people, IMF over the years, they never help any nation. Never. Okay. All these Bretton Woods countries, they never help. We have enough intelligent, brilliant economic minds now, that can help us to get out of here.
Okay, to fix this nation. Now, I want to remind everyone I'm with Dr. Doyin Okupe, who's talking about how to fix a broken Nigeria. Now, at inauguration, President Tinubu called for opposition to come together to collaborate in a national unity government. But this was rebuffed by the opposition. They don't want to be a part of it. Maybe they didn't want their hands soiled by the problems that was inevitably going to happen. Maybe that's the thing. They want to be seen as saints, free from all the quagmire. And they don't want to get involved.
Femi, this is our country. It's not a foreign land. And once there's a problem here. Once an election is over, the election must be over until the next election. There's nothing wrong in Atiku or Obi, putting together some papers and you can make it public. Say that this is what I think should be done. Let me tell you. In the UK, that you are, some of the best manifestos have been written by the social democratic parties. And how many times have they ruled? Maybe only once in a coalition government or something. And I know that either Labour or the Conservative, when they win, they take from their manifestos and apply it. So you cannot say, well, it's the government. So are people saying that the country should be allowed to go down the drains for the next 4 years, then they will come. When they come, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Right now, what the politicians we need are those who can come together, and salvage the country right now. Forget about partisanship. We need to stop the hunger on the street. We need to stop the insecurity. We need to counter poverty.
Let's address that. Let's address that now. How does a broke Nigeria, because we both agree that Nigeria is broke, how does it solve the problem of the masses? Will 494k minimum wage, with a 494,000 minimum wage, will that fix Nigeria? Will that not cause more inflation? How do you fix that?
I don't want to even go to that area of minimum wage and 400. But you have asked a pertinent question. How do we now, being broke, how do we now, fix this country economically, financially, in terms of poverty and all that? Listen to me. If I was president, okay, let me start it this way. What is our problem? Our problem is that we are not generating enough revenue for a 200 million population country. That's
Absolutely.
number one problem.
We
That's
concur.
the truth.
But
That's
many Nigerians don't agree.
No, they don't have to agree. I know. I am talking about what I know. I am not talking from the outside alone.
Go ahead.
I have been in government. I know government. I understand government. I understand revenue. We are not earning enough for a 200. How much do we get from oil? We get from oil, people do not even know. They think all the oil we sell, we collect it. No, we only take 60% of the oil. The Seven Sisters, collect 40% of it. That is the agreement that we have. Whereas Saudi Arabia collects 100% of their oil, we are only taking 60%. But that's not my problem tonight. My problem is this. If I was president, the greatest problem we have today is the greatest threat to our existence as a nation is the theft of the oil, crude oil. That's the greatest threat. We have an allocation, of 2 million barrels a day, but we are doing 1.1, 1.2. You know that if we can do 2 million barrels a day, that is an additional 800,000 barrels, and that is several billions, more than $30 billion in a year. If you have another $30 billion, number one, it will crash the foreign exchange. Do you understand? It will solve two problems: bring more revenue, and crash our foreign exchange. So so if I were the president, I will do everything possible to stop. If I have to wage a war against any group of people, I will do it. I will stop in 3 months. No matter what it takes, I will stop the oil theft. I will stop it. And it can be stopped. It is Nigerians that are behind it. It's not foreigners. It can be stopped. It is greed. It is greed and on patriotism that is encouraging this thing. And all of us are suffering for it. The young men in the creeks who are refining the crude, crude, they are not our problem. How many liters do they take? It is those who come with ships and carry the crude that are a problem. So number one, let us, is a simple economic equation: supply and demand. Once we are able to increase supply, even if the demand remains constant, life will become better for us. That's number one. Number two, 40% of our foreign exchange earning is spent on petroleum products. Thank God, Dangote is going to become, one of our greatest heroes in history now. If by July he can make good his promise to start to sell PMS in Nigeria, and government can ensure that Port Harcourt can come on stream. Port Harcourt can do 10 million barrels a day. If Dangote can give us 50 million barrels a day, and he can be encouraged, let him buy the crude in Naira. Let him buy, if you have 60 million liters of PMS a day, the price will come down to 300. Food prices will crash. Our problems are not unsolvable. They can be solved. They require aggressiveness. And I want this government, with the courage and boldness with which they have taken these two hydra-headed problems, they should go ahead, not caring whose horse is God, to finally resolve this matter. And I'm even still saying it. There's no need for us to be in OPEC. Let's get the hell out of OPEC. Let us pump 3 million, 4 million barrels of oil a day. In 20 years' time, nobody's going to buy crude oil that is buried in the earth. By 2025, 40% of cars that will be on the road in Europe and America will either be on gas or will be electrically powered. So what are we doing with the oil? We are the largest, most populous country in OPEC. Their problem is not our own. Their own problem is more serious than them. We don't belong to that organization. Let's get out of it and sell our crude at any price and pump. We need about 3 million, 4 million barrels of crude to be sold at about $70 per, for posterity to return to this country, and it can return.
Some might say we'll be burning bridges. But anyway, Nigerians are lamenting and complaining about SUVs, 90 billion for Hajj, 21 billion for the vice president's palace, lavish lifestyle, massive corruption, and of course you talked about the inability of Port Harcourt refinery to produce. So wherever you look at, you said it could be solved in 3 months. Do you think it's time for the president to sack some ministers, like the Minister of Petroleum and some of these ministers who maybe are not functioning?
I cannot dictate what this president will do. I've said it publicly. I know this president personally as a friend, and I know what he's capable of doing. And I believe he's going to do everything in his power to ensure that Nigeria survives. His reputation and name and pedigree is also on the line. And like I said, I know he will do. People just have to have a little bit of patience, and to just show you how impatient we are in the country. Finidi George has just been made coach of the Eagles, all right? Mm-hmm. And he just came in, and in 2 quick successions within a week, he played 2 games, drew 1, lost 1. People are calling for his head. What the hell is that? What's that? The man is just inheriting a team. He doesn't know them. They don't know him. It takes time. People have to have confidence in the coach. They have to trust the coach. They have to love him. He has to love them. They have to think about him when they are on the field. All that takes time to, for inbreeding, for them to mix together. It takes time. The same thing what we are in now will take time to get out. But I want the government to step in and, on the short run, try to support the populace. On the long run, we are going to benefit. I agree with that.
Some people say that there was the national anthem that was changed that made the players mess up on the pitch. They didn't know how to sing the national anthem. What do you think?
Please, Femi, spare me. I don't. That's mundane.
Anyway, you're still watching BETTA9JA. Enough is not. Soro Soke with my special guest, Dr. Doyin Okupe, has been very forthright and explaining to us what he thinks are the solutions of how to fix a broken and broke Nigeria. Anyway, many say the EFCC is the main tool that should be used in order to fight corruption, because they say one of the battles that is stopping us from progressing is corruption. And they say
EFCC, I disagree.
Well, let me go on with the question. Let me go on with the question. Many say EFC is ineffective. Some say it has been partisan. What is your view on its quest to quell corruption, a disease that is destroying Nigeria? What do you think about it?
I agree with both. EFCC is partisan, or has been partisan, and it has been ineffective. But they have done some work. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the water and all that. They have done some work. But I am saying the age-long adage that prevention is better than cure is what I will go for. Let us make things difficult for people to be corrupt. People all over I think it's Netherlands where corruption is the least in the world, because everything is technology. There's human interaction is reduced to minimum. We can do the same here. Don't trust anybody. Don't rely on anybody's goodwill or good behavior or good manners or honesty. Make it, even if the man is dishonest, make it impossible for him to be able to procure his enterprise. Don't EFCC? I've been arrested by EFCC. I've been detained by EFCC more than 4, 5, 6 times. And what I saw inside the EFCC cell is nothing to write home about. What I saw in their operations is nothing to write home about. But that's another discussion for another day. But EFCC cannot stop corruption in Nigeria. They cannot, no matter what they do. What can stop corruption in Nigeria is technology. Let's put technology. Like now, you want to collect a form. If you don't need to see any human being, you can collect the form online. Tell me, who are you going to bribe? If you are going to submit the form online, who are you going to bribe? I'm not a very technologically savvy person, but I know that technology can avert or can obliterate a lot of human handling. And we may not be able to get away with corruption 100%, but we can reduce it by 50-60%. Don't let us live like people in caves, in caves. Let us employ technology. Technology is available for everything.
Well, I've got a question from an audience. Someone says, talking of corruption, you were convicted in December 22 and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, apparently, on charges centered on receiving various sums of money from the Office of the National Security Advisor, Dasuki, when you were the Senior Special Assistant on Public Affairs to the former President President Goodluck Jonathan. So, but you were eventually released, and after paying a fine, you were given a fine option. What do you have to say about this? This whole case?
Let me tell you. My arrest, prosecution, and the conviction were malicious. 100% malicious. How? What did I do wrong? I was employed by a president, and he instructed his NSA to fund my office, an office that contained, that I had 26 workers apart from security men, policemen, drivers, and all they gave me was 10 million naira a month. And I'm not the only person, more than 100 aides of the president and officials of government, including judiciary, I have the documents with me, collected cash. NSA pays majorly by cash. So do you understand? I collected cash from the 10 million naira, half of 4.5 million naira every month I spent on salary. The remaining was not even enough to do press conference on a weekly basis. Friends of Jonathan and friends of government gave me money to sustain that office. I have never stolen money before. I'm not a corrupt person. And if you look at it, I up to today, I still have the highest number of charges in the country, 59 charges. Even Dasuki himself does not have up to that. What did I do?
I was going to go on to that. I want to ask you.
The greatest problem of that APC administration, when they were outside government, all right, and when I was with Jonathan, I took them to the cleaners. I shredded them, and before I came on board, they were having a field day and just insulting Jonathan, insulting his administration, bullying them. But when I came, they called me attack dog and all that. And I said I was not attack dog. I was told that an attack dog.
You're the lying Mohammed. You're the lying Mohammed of PDP.
Yeah, I shot the lying Mohammed off. So if somebody called me, a friend of mine, I won't mention his name. He called me, he said, Doyin, he said, you're a foolish man. He said, we have looked for everything we can't find. You did not even take money for yourself. He said, but anyway, this little one, for the next 3 years, go and fight with it. That's what they did. And the judge wrote in her judgment, he said, I made a honest mistake. Who does that? Anyway, the judgment. And then also money laundering is not just one single provision. There must, you must receive cash. One, you must benefit from that money. Two, there must be some hidden intention. In all these cases, about seven provisions, none of them applied to me. And yet the judge still went ahead and convicted me. It was malicious. It was evil. It will not. I'm already on appeal. It will not stand the test of time anywhere.
Okay. Many will say that you're in good company anyway. Donald Trump is a convicted felon now. So, do you agree that Dasuki gate?
I'm not the good.
You're not in the realms of Donald Trump. Okay. Well, do you agree?
I didn't commit any crime. I can say it anywhere. I'm bold. I am proud of myself.
The record. Until you've absolved yourself in the appeals, the records will say otherwise. Anyway, do you agree Do you agree Dasuki Gate has been proven to be a real corruption scandal, which would bedevil Jonathan's PDP government, or was it all biased prosecutions? As you were one of the few actually found guilty. You were one of the few that were found guilty in Dasuki Gate.
Femi, what is Dasuki Gate? What has the judiciary been able to make? The prosecution been able to make of it? It was just a name that was christened, Dasuki Gate. What does it mean? In my own case, they said, I benefited from Dasuki Gate. They now brought their star witness, one Alhaji Shuaib, who was the director of finance, to come and give evidence against me. Surprisingly, this thing is on record. The man said Okupe was paid from our normal budget. annual budget. It was not any gate. It was not any door. It was annual budget. So, we are not in position to know anything about the Soke gate. The case is in court. There's no pronouncement that has been made. It's all just some media imaginations and creations of the FCC.
This could be why some could say it was biased, because you maybe like the small fry being burnt, whilst the big fry are being allowed to go scot-free. Anyway, shortly after this conviction, you resigned as Director General of Peter Obi's presidential campaign. Was this a factor, or were there other fundamental differences between you and Peter Obi's Labour Party? You are conservative by heart.
I have nothing till tomorrow. I have nothing against Peter Obi. And, I think we enjoyed, excellent relation. But, I said it before, we went to join Labour Party as a matter of, compulsion. We needed a platform on which Peter can express his political ambition. So, I said it before, I'm saying it again. The Labour Party to us was a special purpose vehicle, was an SPV. A special purpose vehicle is a vehicle you use to achieve, an end. So, but once we failed, since we failed, and Peter did not win, it is over. I am not a Labour person. You have just said it yourself. I have always been a conservative person all my life. So I cannot stay in that contraption. It's not possible. I cannot operate. I cannot.
So if in 2027 they find another contraption for you, do you think that you will join them?
Who?
I don't know, Peter Obi, whoever. I don't know, whoever.
No. My initially supporting Peter Obi was based on the fact that we believe that after Buhari, the presidency must come to the south. All right, and if it came to the south, the wisdom of the elder Adebanjo, convinced me that you should go to the east. But that equation has changed. A southerner is now in the saddle. So
so your quest has been achieved more or less, if you like, even though
indirectly without my participation. That's the truth.
Okay. So now let's remind everyone I'm still with my special guest, Dr. Doyin Okupe, the veteran politician and evangelist. Now I know you were with the EFCC for a while. Then after, we now hear that you're evangelist. Did you become evangelist? Did it start from there? Did this sudden evangelism?
You're only taking advantage of the distance that is between you and I. Otherwise, I will strangle your neck. No.
I'll be coming to Nigeria soon. You can.
Let me know. I will lay my hands on you. No. Talking seriously.
Yeah.
My very essence, my very being has been nothing but God. I want to tell you something on open air this evening. Every position I've held in Nigeria, I have never ever lobbied for them. They have just been given to me. Every single position. The one I did with Obasanjo, I worked with Obasanjo. It was Babangida who called me and said, "You go and help my boss." And I went to Baba and I joined him, and we won the election. And I went to England. I left the country. I went to England where everybody was there. I came back on the 26th of May of that year. I left after the election. I left, and when I came back and I saw Baba said, "Well, you are just," because I told him I was going to do my hemorrhoids, and he said, "Oh, you're back." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Come and see me when I'm going out now. Come and see me." And I came back and I went to see him, and he told me, he said, he said, "I have a job for you." I said, I'll most gladly serve you, and that's how I got the job. I didn't ask him. I didn't lobby. I didn't send anybody. I didn't go to any conference or anything they did. The one with Jonathan. The one with Jonathan, I was in my house on a Tuesday morning. Pius Ayim, the Secretary to Government, put a call to me and said the president has been trying to give me an appointment for the past 6 months, but they don't know what to call me. They don't want to, because Ogun State already has 2 ministers and 2 advisors, and they don't know what else to give to me. So I said, "Does it matter?" They said, "Well, because of my status," and I said, "It doesn't really matter. I will gladly work for Jonathan, to defend him in these very difficult times." And I told him, I said, call me senior special assistant to the president on public affairs. Ayim is still alive. I was the one who dictated the name of the post they gave me. He said, is that so? I said, yes. If that is the case, come on Thursday, come and collect your appointment letter. So what I'm trying to say is this. God, the hand of God has, I started a relationship with God at the age of 12. I was 12 years old when I actually started a relationship with the Almighty God. And he has never, ever let me down ever since then. People do not know. They take my outward exuberances and all that. And there's nothing I am, there's nothing I have been that has not been through God's grace. I have had cancer twice. I've had, my heart rate come down to 30 beats per minute due to congenital sinus bradycardia. And in all these things, Christ has always saved my life. I used to have hemorrhoids that bled. I bled for 20 years. Every day of my life, I used to bleed when I go to the toilet. But one day I got tired of it. It was in a friend's house. I bled all over the floor. I leaned against the wall and I said, God, I am tired. And I'm telling you, Femi, that was 20 years ago. I have never bled again. I've enjoyed a serious, intimate relationship with God, but it's been private. But now I'm coming out. I have served man. I have served presidents. Now I'm going to serve God. I bear witness here that Christ has healed me on several occasions, that I give him all the glory that is due to his name. And I worship him with everything that I have, me and my household.
Thank you for that, and we thank God for blessing you and saving you and bringing you here today to talk to us on BETTA9JA and Soro Soke. Now, as a medical practitioner, you talked about having to come to the UK to solve for your hemorrhoids, I think you said just now, and this thing about presidents always going abroad. People, what I know you have your foundation. Is it the Royal? Yeah. How are we doing about making sure that we can be self-sufficient in medical, field and relying on our own? So many GPs, so many doctors are not even getting to work in Nigeria. They're all running jackpying to the UK and Canada and elsewhere. What are we doing wrong?
Things are getting better. A lot of Nigerians abroad, especially doctors, are coming home and bringing investments home in the medical field. My cancer treatment, when I left Israel because of the war, I left Israel because, war broke out, and I came to Nigeria, and I was introduced to a most wonderful hospital that if I am given free ticket and money to go back to Israel, I won't go back. The kind of treatment I received, the kind of professionalism I enjoyed, is called Marcel Root Cancer Center in Victoria and Lagos. It is absolutely Marcel Root. Root.
I'll be grateful if you could get me their contacts. I'll be grateful if you could get me their contacts so we can interview them, so we can publicize them, so that people can know that there are institutions within Nigeria that you can go to.
They have everything that you can think of, and they have the competence. I'm telling you, I spent 3 months in that hospital, and here I am. I can give it to you off, but there are other hospitals. I mean, there is a Force Cardiac, all right, that looks after cardiology for people and all that. And there's, I've been to hospital in Canada. I've been to hospital in the US. I've been to the hospital in UK. I've been to hospital in India. I'm telling you, some of these clinics are better off.
So what we'll most probably do, sir, is we'll most probably have a program specifically on the health sector in Nigeria, and maybe we can have some of your colleagues, and we'll talk specifically about using our own instead of wasting our dollars.
I'll give you the links. And there are also some really wonderful hospitals in Abuja who are doing wonderful things too. So what the point you are trying to make is that, can we stop presidents from going abroad? We can. Yes. We can. Yes. I know, and I'm telling you, as a patient and as a medical practitioner myself, we don't need with $200 million, we can establish 4 or 5 different first-class hospitals.
We thought that the president one would have thought that the presidential hospital, that's what it's for, you know, and I thought that's what we should be doing. The presidential, once you know what the ailment is of the president, you should be able to put everything in place so that it could be best served here in Nigeria. Anyway, I want to go into some quick. I want to go on some quick fire questions. We're not going to be able to do current affairs because we're running out of time, but I want to ask you some basic things like, what is your favorite food that you like to eat in Nigeria, and where does it come from?
Femi, I am off food. I have lost, I have lost 34 kg. And,
yes, I heard about that.
Yes, so it has affected my appetite. It has affected, before I was almost a glutton. I loved food. I ate.
What is your favorite? What is your favorite? Even if you can't eat it, what is your favorite? My favorite
meal was, what is it now? It's not the amala that everybody loves and all that. No. I like fresh fish. Okay. I like fresh fish with basmati rice. The fish cooked with light stew. And of course, if I'm going to eat amala and any of those things with ewedu and gbegiri, it has to have cow leg, it has to have shaki, it has to have tongue. Those are the hopeless things I used to eat.
So you've both probably widely traveled all across Nigeria. Where's the best place to be traveled to in Nigeria that you know the place in Jos you didn't really like there, but where else is lovely?
Jos is a good place to go for holiday. Jos is good. The ranch in Cross River is excellent. The ranch in Cross River is excellent. Bauchi is exciting. Bauchi is quite exciting. Bauchi is exciting. I think Akwa Ibom is coming up. With a lot of, comfort for visitors and all that.
Okay, that's cool. Now you ran for governor in Ogun State under the PDP, but you lost to Benga Daniels.
Yes.
And now is your brother from Peru, Governor Dakwe Abodu, is in office in Ogun State. What are your views on his performance and his progress on the Iperu International Cargo Airport, truly putting Iperu on the map?
Yeah, well, Dapo is a cousin. His grandmother, his maternal grandmother, if he had been a male, would have been an Okupe. So, but in spite of that, I can be objective. Dapo, Governor Abiodun is, my quarrel with him is that he is not publicizing what he's doing enough. He underestimates the media and the role of the media. Some people believe, like Obasanjo, believe that propaganda is a dirty word. It's not true. Propaganda is making the public aware as repeatedly as possible and in the best possible form of what you're doing. It's not lying. Dapo has done better than perhaps any governor that has been in Ogun State since inception. He's done better. I'm telling you. It's not because he's my cousin or anything. He's in terms of roads, infrastructure, and all that, he's done so well. Now, I wish he didn't put the airport in Ilishon, Iperu, because I would have been able to comment on that. But he was not the one who put it there. It was Governor Daniel that located it in that place. All he just did was to come and restart the project, and he actually completed it. How he managed to do that, I find that quite, unbelievable. And that's a legacy project. It's a legacy. He's done so well. He's done very, very well. If you take Ijebu-Ode to Ekpe Road, it is quintessentially excellent. And so many. Even he's done a lot of good job. He's done a lot of good job. And I'm happy for him.
The feelings out there are what happened during the time of Amosun. They said he was the governor of Abeokuta. Now they're saying that Dakwa Abiodun is the governor of Remo.
No, it's not true. It's not true. It's not. I can tell you.
Many roads abandoned by Amosun are still there, abandoned. Flyovers still abandoned.
No. I happen to have taken this up with him, and I was pleasantly surprised at the catalog of what they have done in Yewa and what they are doing in Abeokuta. It is not true. In the whole of Remo, there's only one road that he has done since all this time. That is from Shaga. He dualized the road from Shagamu, and up to Peru. It did not even go all the way to Ishara, which is a very important part of Remo too, for which they are fighting him. So, and then he did the airport. That's all he has done. The housing estate he has done, have been evenly distributed throughout the country and throughout the state. Throughout the state.
I know you may have some connections. Is it possible you can speak, because someone's asking, can you speak to him to do the road from the railway in Abeokuta to this town center? Because they said it's still a dirt road, and that's essential. How many years?
I can assure you that somebody called me. I don't remember. A friend of mine called me and talked to me about that road. And I have sent a text message. I have a copy on my phone to the governor that he should not. What they told me was that it was a federal government thing. But what I'm saying to them is that they should do it because it is in their state and it is their citizens that will benefit most, and people coming to do business in their state. So I'm aware of it. The governor is aware of it, and I get their argument, but I've also already countered that argument, saying that they should do it in spite of it all. They should still do that road. It is shameful for you to come out from an elegant train, and then you go on a jagged, rough road that
all your clothes dirty. All your clothes dirty. It's just ridiculous.
It's not okay. After this program, I'm also going to send him a message.
Thank you. I think that's going to be good because I'm sure Dr. Umahi, the minister, will not object to the state taking over or building that road.
I believe so.
Well, it's been a pleasure having words.
In fact, I remember now. I understand that a contractor was given dry port or something, in that by that station. And he has held a meeting with Umahi, and Umahi has agreed to do the road.
Okay, Umahi fantastic. That's good. That's really fantastic.
Umahi has agreed to do the road. There's a dry port that has been given to a contractor, and the contractor went and spoke with the Minister of Works, and he mentioned it to me and said Umahi has agreed to do the road.
Fantastic. And we'll be watching that, and we'll look forward to speaking to someone in Ogun State who will come and tell us and propagandize what Dakwa Brothers are doing. We want to have someone from Ogun State come on our show and tell us all the wonderful things that's happening. I think it's true. They must do that. Anyway, on the final note, this is Democracy Day. This is Nigeria. We say it's a broken Nigeria. We want to fix Nigeria, broken Nigeria. What is your parting words to the youth and the masses now that you, Evangelist, Dr. Doyin Okupe, would like to tell them, that to give them hope, or the renewed hope that there's a future for everybody in Nigeria and it's going to work?
I want to say it categorically, loud and clear, that Nigeria is not about to go down. Believe me. We can fix this country, and we will fix this country. I believe that this administration can do well if allowed to perform. I think I want to advise our young people to get themselves together and, get into politics. You can have activism, but get into politics. And then the politics, that is current now is shameful. It's politics of hatred, politics of bad feeling.
Abuse and insult.
It's without, politics that I knew was politics without bitterness. I was in NRC. I used to go to Baba Gana Kingibe's room in the hotel at Hilton, and we had lunch together in his bedroom. And I remember one day that we were just finished a debate with Abiola and Baba Kingibe on NTA on a Saturday. On a Sunday we flew to Abuja, and I was having lunch with Baba Kingibe. Kingibe is still alive. And some people came from Maduguri, and he didn't allow them to come in, because we were having a great time. We were having pounded yam with some egusi and all that. After some time, people got impatient, and one of them, very bold man, opened the door and saw that it was Baba and I eating together. And you know what he said? He said, Baba Shege, Danny's Okupe. It is this crazy Okupe you're eating with, and you're holding us up. And I was NRC. So,
Okay.
I don't understand, this hatred. You can win, and then, let me tell you also, you can have the best candidate, and the best candidate may not win. That is even what God says. God, that's what the Bible says. The race is not to the swift or to the fastest. It is to whom God has given. And whoever God gives, let us rally around the person and, work for the country. Then we go again and prepare for the next election.
Absolutely.
We go and prepare for the next election. There's no need for this hatred, for this bile, for this insult, for this passion. The country is so so negatively impassioned. You can, and then people don't even have respect. They insult. Somebody was saying Body George was a fool. I don't believe 80-year-old man for just expressing his opinion, for goodness sake. My opinion is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Criticize my opinion or say your own. People say, I'm a spokesman for Tinubu. I am not. I've always been able, since I came into politics at the age of 27, 28, I've always been able to express myself freely. This is, what I say is what I feel. And, everything doesn't have to be with money. He has taken agbado, he has taken money, he has chopped money. I am not corrupt in any way. I come from a very sound, solid financial family. I went and did medicine. My clinic in 1982 was having a turnover of more than 50 million naira a year. I've never been poor. I've always had money. So, I don't understand what it's talking. Everything. If it is money that made me go into politics, I've been in politics for more than 40 years. I only have 2 houses in the world. I have 1 house in Lagos and then 1 house in Iperu. That's what I have. I don't have any account anywhere in the world. I don't have any account, not a dime. So, people must be careful. Those of course, all these other people who are just doing anyhow, they won't go far. Because nobody wants a brigand and a hooligan, as a politician. But if you are ready to learn, if you are ready to be gentle and move on, and then you don't wait for the older people to give you a chance. Take it.
Yeah,
I was 28. I was 28 when I contested, when I came into politics. That's why I was telling you, I never had a godfather. But I have been relevant ever since then till now. I don't need anybody to sponsor me or to promote me. I use my money, my hard-earned money from my clinic, to promote myself. Don't wait for anybody to allocate political office or to accommodate you or to promote you. Take it. Don't wait, take it. Nobody is going to hand over political power to any set of people. Nobody will. Nobody will.
I want to thank you for joining us on tonight's show. Enough is enough. Please make sure Soro, Soke, not enough. I'm sorry, it's BETTA9JA. Enough is enough. Yeah, and please make sure Soro, Soke. Don't be shy. Don't be silent. If you see something, say something. If you can't take it no more, do something about it. Naija go better. Believe in one Naija. We all want a better Naija. A big shout out to our sponsors, Naija Beauty Products, Share My Haven Hair and Beauty Spa for massage therapy and skincare, and Massage to Be Fashions. For sponsorship and advert placements, contact Prime View Television. I'm your host, Femi, the founder of BETTA9JA. See you same time next week when we'll debate yet another hot topic. Over and out. Stay in the studio, Doctor.
Thank you.
Prime View TV. New media